Can we start things off with the Pledge of Allegiance? Flags over there. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which it stands, nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All right, chair updates. It seems that hopefully the thing on the agenda tonight is cows, but we'll see how it goes. And so do we have any additions or deletions that anybody would like to add to the agenda this evening? Okay. Can we? I'm trying to remember. Let us go over the minutes. Do we have any additions or observations, corrections anybody would like to make to the minutes from last week? Not last week,
I move
weeks ago.
approval of the minutes as presented.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Do we have any comments on the minutes?
I have a question just in general about how the minutes were taken.
Mhm.
I guess I just want clarification on. Some of it's a little confusing in terms of wording or verbiage or how things are presented in the minutes. I guess I'm just looking for like a general idea about how they're being taken. Is it the new program?
The new program and last meeting, Dom and I both worked on with the new program that there was.
So what does the program do?
It basically outlines, it's just a quicker way of doing them plus putting them up.
Like, so.
It doesn't actually do the minutes.
Okay, oh.
So it
it's
doesn't
just
dictate.
Still
Right.
people, okay, I guess I was just thinking that it was computer generated and that the verbiage and the way that things were worded sometimes was a little. Confusing, or I didn't pick out any specifics. My apologies, I was just making a general observation about how some of the sentences or statements were worded, that it was like a little funny, it sounded.
I don't
A
think
little
Chat GPT makes any spelling errors.
That's my only,
Yeah, Carl.
Yeah, my only comment would be, I know there are some times that are not in here, like when we went into executive session, I don't think it was here. Or when we came out, or when we adjourned.
Okay.
It's useful to have that in there,
So. we
especially
need
since we went
to-
to order.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. So that should be in there.
sorry, I just have one example.
Okay.
On 115, it says they are replacing, so it's about Velco. They are replacing with weathering poles made to last longer, comma, steel poles. It just sounded like a computer sentence to me. And it was a little confusing because they are replacing with weathering poles. They're replacing the weathered poles with steel poles. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
It's just
mean,
like a little funny. So I was thinking with the program.
yeah, we could definitely edit that to make it run a little bit more smoothly, but
I think also,
nobody's criticizing.
Nobody's
anybody for
criticizing.
speaking.
I was just thinking it was.
well, I think also like with the new program, like consistency will get better.
Yeah.
Okay, and we definitely should add the time in which we went into executive session, when we got out of executive session, and any decisions that were made after. Any other corrections, observations? Yeah, right.
I just went to the website for the minutes after like maybe 1 second. It looks like just a reposting of the agenda and actually see that.
Okay.
There's a, I click PDF link.
For May 20th, well, this is from May 22nd right here.
Yeah, that's not what.
So he's saying that he doesn't see it online.
This is online.
Oh, that is online.
Yeah,
That's not what came up when I clicked on the PDF link on the website for minutes.
that's where it just pulled this.
Okay, I can do it again.
Are you on the packet part?
I'm on the musical, meetings.musical. This is what I get.
Now, did you scroll up?
Oh. Okay, this is completely different than what I got a minute ago.
Okay.
Oh, no, this is bracket. When I click on minutes. Yeah,
The website was a little rearranged, so that's where
yeah,
stuff happens.
all very,
So back to the, any corrections to the minutes. Do we see anything else that we would like to add? All right, all in favor of accepting the minutes? Oh,
I have a question.
yes, Patty.
You alluded to the fact that after executive session, you made a decision. Could you
No, I don't-
restate what
yeah, I'm
the
not sure
decisions
what's
were
going on
that
with
you
I
made?
don't remember if we did make decisions. I just said that if we had made any decisions, they need to be.
there is a.
I think there was.
But if I click on minutes, it's not there, then we get an agenda.
Right.
Okay.
There's
To pay Blake $50 for the previous
No,
year.
yeah, no, it's in the packet.
It was for,
two motions
yeah,
made, okay.
230, 237, 238.
Yeah, 240, well, I'm sorry, 237, 238. Rosenquist makes motion to pay Blake's $150 for previous years.
can I?
I see a
let me
motion
explain.
out of executive session there too, so we just don't have a motion into executive session. Is that what was that your observation?
No, it's not. I wanted to know what were the motions out of executive session.
If there were
Okay.
decisions made.
Yes, I'm not putting it to you.
Right.
Yes, there were two decisions that were made and they are currently in the minutes.
Yeah.
So the first one was a motion to pay Blake $150 for previous years. That was a personnel thing. I don't know if we can talk too much more about that.
It was about property use and the town using somebody's property for something. And we had not paid them enough for what their property was worth. And so we paid them $150 to make up from previous years.
And then it just has who voted yes, yay, and who voted nay. So I guess it was one motion.
Okay. I think, I'm sorry, I raised my hand. I think that needs to be a little clearer as to what it is, because in 20 years, when somebody looks back at this, they're not gonna know what
Maybe-
that motion was. It's a very vague motion without really
I think it's,
explaining what it is.
I think it's because it's an executive session and it's involving somebody's personal property taxes. Is that why
Well-
we can't?
The way in which we make, the way in which we record the minutes is there is a minimum that's defined by state law. And so the minimum is not very extensive. And so usually the select board and the folks taking the minutes can choose how much detail they want. If we want to add more detail, we are invited to do so.
I mean, I don't need, I think that it doesn't need to be specific details,
Right.
but enough to kind of say, I mean, all this says is makes a motion to play Blake's for $150.
For previous
Well, what if it
years,
said pay Grimm's $150 and everybody's gonna be like, why are they paying the Grimm's? What for?
Yeah, I
Why
get
are they
that.
giving them money?
Yeah, I agree.
I get
It should have been more in there. Okay. And that has to do with the septic field at the library, as far as I understand it. And we needed more land for that septic field. That's my recollection on the whole thing. Okay. Is that true? Okay. And accordingly, we essentially pay the Blakes for use of some of their land for the leach field at the library.
Okay. Thank you.
But it
I
should be
remember a
clear.
few septic trips were made. Yeah,
So basically, to clarify, it's $150 a year for a second.
No. No. So we've been using his property for our leach field for years. But we have been kind of underpaying for years because of the property assessment compared to what maybe current property assessment, I don't know. We were underpaying for a lot of property and
I think because this item was an executive session, we should probably
Yeah.
not go into the depths of detail that we're doing right now. We should probably leave it at, there was $150 based on a reassessment
yeah,
that was done, that both parties agreed to. And we should probably,
yeah, I would agree with
out of
that.
respect for all parties. I didn't mean to cut you off.
that's fine. No, I don't really want to talk about it.
And so, all in favor of accepting the minutes as edited?
Aye.
Aye. All right, can we have a motion to approve the warrant?
I'll make a motion to approve the warrant.
Do we have a second?
A second.
All right, any discussion on the warrant?
I think there were some things, but I believe Amber and Lonnie worked them out. As long as they were worked out, I'm good with that.
All right, any other comments? Heather,
I just have a quick question. Costco's, we bought a brisket, pies and hot dogs. Did we have a party that we didn't know about?
That is for the fire department, the wards.
Okay. That's now paid for by the town? That's on the next page. That's not done by the association anymore?
It wasn't this year, it was like $200, I think it was, something like that. We used to actually have an outside caterer come in, that was paid for by the association, and we elected as a department not to do that. Everybody brought food and we supplied the meat and drinks.
okay,
I was just curious because I was like.
did somebody buy their lunch on
I
time?
was like, wait a minute.
Right.
Eagle eye.
Eating good.
Okay, Brian,
VLCT, it looks like there's somewhere around $30,000 worth of payments to them. What's that for?
the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, do we know? exactly?
What does that cover?
It's insurance.
Oh, it's for insurance?
Yeah.
Okay. You get workers' comp or is it the regular insurance for the town's employees or? Workers' comp, okay, yeah.
All right, do we have any other questions or any corrections anybody would like to make to the warrant as it currently stands? All in favor of accepting the warrant?
Aye.
Aye. We have time for any public comments that anybody would like to make to the board or to the town. Please feel free to stand up and speak into the mic. You have 5 minutes if you would like to use that time.
I've got a comment.
Yeah,
I don't know where the mic is. I don't.
it's just speaking the
Speak
direction of the
loudly.
loud over there.
I just want to express my disappointment. At election time, the town voted for a recreation director who would also spend some time writing grants. School is getting out on Friday. That person should have been hired at the end of April or in April at the very least to be able to set up summer camps and projects and things for the kids to do. I'd be willing to bet that the majority of the town voted yes on that because of the children that they have and the things they want done with the children. It had nothing to do with the grants. You seem to be caught up with comments about, well, we gotta get a grant writer, we gotta get a grant writer. I know that town that have their own special projects and agendas that want somebody to find money for them to do those things. But it was sold as a recreation director, and I think most of you realize that, and I just want to express how very disappointed I am that nothing has been done and the kids are getting out on Friday.
Thank you, Mayor. I think on this particular issue, we did have some hiccups going forward on the hiring of the rec director. And we recently, in fact, at the last meeting, we were given, we had asked the board again to let us go and interview some remaining candidates for that position. We did have one person that we were offering a job to and declined it. So that was some time ago. Okay, and then they said had some hiccups in between. And right now, Nick and I are in the process. Actually,
There's 2 people.
this week, we're interviewing.
Well, no,
Next
it's
week.
Now it's postponed.
correct. Yeah, their time didn't coordinate.
All right, so
That has-
anyway,
that has been in
it's
the
going
works.
forward. We have some people we're interviewing, but you're right. We should have been done earlier, and
Well, the biggest thing is you also have to have interest in the position as well too, right? You know, so we did have a person, or the board did have a person, this was prior to me. That they did make an offer to, but that person moved on. So I think they kind of, it stalled for a bit.
So, I think, yes, you said it well, Carl, so, you're right, we should have done it better. We're gonna get it filled, but we're past the hiccups, we'll get it filled as soon as we can. Do we have any other comments? Right,
Town never voted on that.
okay,
That's not, that's not the position that we voted on.
Well, they voted on the budget. And it's
Yeah,
in the budget, yeah.
It wasn't in the budget. It came out of ARPA funds. The funding for it was coming out of ARPA funds, it wasn't coming out of the budget.
But ARPA funds could have been spent to defray the cost of taxes and stuff.
Oh, yes. So we can explore, what the vote was. Regardless, we would have liked to have it done earlier. And we are going to do the best that we can. We're going to put the pedal to the metal on it. So, do we have any other comments? Yeah,
Frank Grimm, I've asked a few people in town, but I have yet to get an answer. The under 16 cadets in the fire department, I'm unclear how we're not violating state law. When state law says they can't work after 7 and all the trainings and all the meetings are 7 o'clock. So how are we having cadets learn stuff on the fire department when, according to state law, the way I read it, they're not allowed to work after 7 p.m. on school nights, only during but I think it's like June to August.
we did have that conversation. Keith, do you remember exactly?
Yeah,
I've answered it pretty
yeah.
multiple of the time.
Yeah.
If the lawyer says that this is all legal, it is because the services is outside of regular employment. That's how I understand it. You asked me, I've answered it for you a number of times at this point.
That's not an answer.
I'm not a legal person, but our lawyer is, the town lawyer is, and they're the ones who went through and approved the document that we run by for our cadets. So that stuff they had to research and had to look into regarding all of that.
Do we have any other towns, Keith, and I'm not aware of this, do we have any other towns that also have a similar program where there's
Swanton,
with the similar age kids?
they're younger.
Okay. I would assume if other towns are also doing it,
Milton's actually.
they probably would be
responding more than
violating
ours.
the law, but again, I'm not a lawyer either.
Way less limited than our folks are.
I
And
think
are
maybe
there,
that's something to take up with the lawyer.
So
We obviously
the
don't have
town
the
has
legal-
paid- The town has paid the lawyer for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yes,
So we've done our
Do we
due
have
diligence.
documents on
yes.
that so that he has to.
Yeah, can I see the document the lawyer said?
We got advice on it. I don't know if we have documents on it, but I mean,
If he gave
we
an
can
opinion, he must
definitely.
have-
Well, we have a so my understanding, Keith, is the document that was created to bring them on was approved by the attorney, is what you're
We
saying.
can share that.
Yes.
I guess, I don't know exactly, but was written by us and then brought. It went through legal and also approved. By us.
So it sounds like what we can provide is a document that outlines how we bring youth on to serve on the fire department and show that it was okayed by the lawyer. I don't know if that's exactly what you're looking for, but that is.
I guess my comment on that is the lawyer also in a lawsuit against the fire department took a stance and took the wrong stance. So I mean, if he doesn't have some legal, this is where it says in statute, this is where it says in that, it's just an opinion.
I don't think that we should, I don't think we can further,
I don't know if we can
Comment
further
on it,
answer
we're
the
not lawyers.
question, yes,
Yeah.
but, and you.
But I mean,
You're right,
Department
law
of
and law
Labor
raises opinion.
clearly states that, you can't work after 7 o'clock if you're 16 and under, except for there's a few different things with caveats. It is like a career building thing and
I'm pretty sure that pertains to
but you're
this.
supposed to have a teacher, overseeing you.
Another comment?
I just wanted to say that in my previous experience on the select board, I'm Kyle Brainier. The town attorney, who I believe is still the same town attorney, should be able to provide legal advice that the town was given. I'm sure it's in writing at the attorney's office, so I'm sure you could just ask for that and provide it to Brent.
Certainly, it will bill us, but,
So there are not current.
Okay.
While the cadet program is currently set at 14 and older, there's currently no one under the age of 16 on that.
okay, Brian,
Imagine that if you had the ingenuity to find a state statute anyway where that's allowed.
Correct.
I mean, there's other parts with emergency stuff that they allow them, dealing with CDLs, you can drive X number of hours beyond what you could if you were in a commercial situation. And so there's all kinds of different stipulations that are allowed for emergency.
I'm sure if you give us a little bit of time, we could dig up some documentation that would better answer your question.
Sure, was that something we could find?
Yeah.
Oh. All right, do we have any other comments or statements that members of the community would like to make? Yes, I don't know if I met you yet.
I am Joanne Nye, I live on the Plains Road, just a little up the road from Chelsea,
Oh,
so,
hello neighbor.
I did not realize it was on the agenda, so I am here pushing a livestock ordinance, so obviously I travel that road every single day.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry we didn't get back in touch. We didn't
No,
respond
that's
to your
okay.
email, but
I'm fine with it.
yes, we did know, we definitely knew what was going on.
Well, like I said, that's why I'm here, and then I see the little line item with my little tiny eyes, and I'm pretty sure I'll be here.
Oh,
But I was told that that was moved to another meeting, because I asked for the actual ordinance to see it ahead of time, and they said it was moved.
I never directed it to
When
be
we
moved.
discuss it,
It's gonna be moved then, okay.
because it's not finished yet,
Okay,
we can
'cause we
discuss
have
if we
to
want
see
to
it.
adopt a lot of
Right.
stuff, so there's gonna be discussion. And then they gotta approve that
Okay.
we can do this and move forward, so it's still there, it's just we don't
So
have
has
paper
one of
to send you.
That's at the.
Any other comments?
The other part.
All right, I think we are going to move into our correspondence. We have a letter to the board. Is this something that we should read out loud?
Up there on the packets. It's so blurry.
It's so blurry back here.
Have that.
Fantastic.
It's pretty short, can you just read it for them?
Yes. Hold on, let me pull out my public speaking, let me brush off my public speaking voice a little bit more. As the select board is aware, the water line that provides the source water supply for the town, industrial park water treatment plant and fire pump house facility extends from Lake Arrowhead to the industrial park. A portion of that supply line is of concern and is located under the right of way of Town Trail number 4, also known as the old Route 10-4A. You're right. It has recently come to the attention of the GIDC board that some time ago, work was performed by one or more of the abutting property owners along sections of the town trail to what appears to be an attempt to regrade the surface of the trail, making it more passable for vehicle traffic. In the process of doing so, the minimal 5.5 feet of protective ground coverage that was initially installed has been regraded, and in some areas, the cover has been reduced by as much as 2 to 2.5 feet from the original grade. When the pipeline was installed, our board's concern is that because of the reduction of protective coverage, there is now a real possibility of a freeze up of a portion of the water line, and that depending on the weight of the vehicle, the integrity of the pipeline could be compromised and possibly could collapse. It has also been observed that during the winter months, protective snow cover has also been removed, plowed, further exposing the risk of a freezing up. Obviously, if the line freezes, that would be potential cause for a stopping of services to provide treated water to the park tenants, including how do I pronounce that?
Carrico.
Which would interrupt production for all tenants and facilities in the park. In addition, fire protection capabilities could also be interrupted if this water source is compromised. Since town trail number 4 falls under the town's jurisdiction, our board would request the town ensure that sufficient material be brought to ensure that the minimal depths of protective coverage be reestablished to meet minimum engineering standards for adequate protection as necessary for the climate and to accommodate anticipated pedestrian and vehicle traffic and weight limits to be allowed. The board has conducted preliminary ground radar depth of cover samplings that show areas where the coverage has been reduced and can be provided to the select board for its use in this matter. Select board has any questions or needs further clarification, please do not hesitate to contact me. Timothy Smith.
I suggest we give this to the Buildings and Grounds Committee to, or whatever you want to call it, Public Works Committee to review and see what action, if any, we need to take. I don't believe there is any evidence that there's been something removed. It's a statement that apparently the ground cover is reduced from what it was supposed to be there. But that's all I know at the moment.
Well,
Yeah, it
Yeah,
says that it's
sound-
been regraded or,
yeah, and it says they conducted ground radar depth samplings, so they probably do have some evidence that they can
I
share.
think we should request that and
Yeah.
then go from there.
Yeah, and he did say that he would help us out
Yeah.
and try and take the next step. So I think the logical next step is to just reach out to Timothy and,
Is it gravel? And what's the trail?
Just,
Okay, so, okay,
and
Just
just
a
see
third
what's,
place.
and see what we can do and do the best that we can to fix it up.
I mean, yeah, I mean, honestly, if we're digging up roads to pave them, then that's stuff we can use to put on this road.
well, yeah, the cost to, I don't know how big the section is, but. You know, the implications of not assisting could be much
Yeah.
larger if we let this sit.
So can we reach out to Tim to get the information and then maybe talk with Todd to see what's happening with that bill?
Yeah, we'll have Buildings and Grounds do that. I don't know if we need to make a motion, or I don't think we need to make a motion for that.
It is an action item.
It is?
Is it
All right.
not? No, it is not,
Well,
sorry,
it says legal.
that's a different.
sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Threw me off.
correspondence. All right. I don't see any other correspondence. So I don't think this is, no, that's not correspondence. And so,
wait, sorry. Oh, never mind. This letter for the,
yeah, it's GIDC letter.
okay,
All right, so,
That's a
Wait,
different one. That's a different one.
okay.
we have no unfinished business from last meeting. And so let's
Right,
move
legal
into
calendar.
board business. Our first is the draft policy from our ethics committee. And so do we have our representatives from the ethics committee who would like to share with us what they've been, what they have for us?
Sure, I just have a quick update and a request. So the group working on the conflict of interest recommendations has met 2 times. We have a very strong draft, we believe. There are 4 items that either exist in the document already or things that we have talked about that we're hoping the board would allow us to get in touch with somebody through tech assistance at VLCT or the town attorney to get a little bit more information so we can have a better understanding about whether to make these recommendations or not. Just for public knowledge, I'm just going to tell briefly about what the 4 areas are. The first one is throughout the document, the term volunteer is used very inconsistently. So in some areas, it says a volunteer must sign the conflict of interest policy, but it doesn't define what a volunteer is, and it doesn't talk about how often they volunteer or if they're here for 5 minutes or 5 years. So that's one of the areas we would like to get some more information on. The second area we would like to get more information on is regarding changes and updates to the policy. We are fully aware that the select board has been given legal authority to create, change, and enforce this policy. What we would like to know is if there is an appropriate or demonstrated way that could require or encourage public input when those things are done. The third item is we would like to get a little bit more information about an appropriate way to encourage the select board to work with other elected town officials to adopt the same or similar policy, because that's not done currently in every area. The fourth item that we would like more information about is regarding other conflict of interest policies that exist and how they are ranked or which supersedes another. So in our meetings, we've discussed, just very, very briefly about how we would manage this. A couple of us would hope to, just have a quick chat with somebody from VLCT. That's our first choice, just because we're aware that that probably costs the town much less than somebody from the legal team.
And they're very responsive.
They are, yeah, they are, yeah.
Sorry to say, the turnaround is very fast.
Now, have you reached out and requested information and did they?
I am not, because I'm not a representative of.
Sure, of course, of course.
I have in the past, and they basically said, you don't work for the town.
Yeah.
We don't answer you.
Right,
Okay.
We need your authorization.
Well, and there is a portal and ticket system
Yeah.
and so I mean.
Well, the portal only works if they have, we get access to the portal, but.
Well, I'm
nobody else
wondering if we
does.
could reach out to them with a member of this committee CC'd and if that would allow them to continue the conversation. Or if we can engage them as a board, asking them to speak with our committee.
I think if we could just write an email with given permission to work with VLCT, would that suffice or?
As long as it.
I mean, it has to come from you guys, so that the town would ensure that one of us or a group of us is able to speak with, not
Sure.
volleying it to us to say.
I think at the very least, one of us can call into the VLCT and let them know that we have a approved subcommittee that would like their,
Yeah.
would like their input.
legal counsel, for
Yeah.
sure.
As far as contacting the lawyer, while I do think that this definitely, the ethics policy definitely is worth paying the lawyer to look at. We do really want to respect the budgetary restrictions that we have at the moment. And so not entirely, I would like to, I don't know if we can.
So just to clarify, so it was our hope to use the LCT because we understand that whatever, we're only making recommendations.
Sure.
So anything that we recommend that the board decides needs to
Right.
be further investigated. We don't want to bill legal services twice for the town. That would be.
Right.
foolish. Just, I'm happy to be the spokesperson to get the group involved. So if you just let me know how I can expect a follow-up or.
Want the personnel committee to, it could be any committee, for all that matters, it doesn't matter, it can be.
Well, you all are doing enough.
Kevin, do you
I'd be
want to
happy to do, I'd be happy to. So
Looking for something good.
I might have found some things that I can do, but I would be happy to work with you to get in touch with PLC2.
Oh,
I'll
no,
send you an email first in the morning.
I appreciate it,
So
yeah.
we have that.
we don't have a point of contact there. It's pretty much whoever answers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I call them a lot, so. So please, the floor is still yours.
Well, I was gonna say, that's all that I had at this time. I don't know if there are questions from the board, or I would entertain if other folks in the group have questions too, to give any updates about what we've been working on or where we are in the process.
All right, do we have any questions or?
I just want to comment that I just want to thank all of you for taking the time and looking at this seriously and the engagement and the, the information that's coming back to us is great. So thank you guys for the time.
And I just want to add on to that. I definitely want to reiterate like that we're in no rush because we want this to be as thorough as it possibly can be. I think it's important to put as much effort into it as possible. Have you guys considered like having like I mean, and obviously you can tell me to shut up, but, have you considered doing like a public meeting to get any other input other than just the 7 of you?
We've not.
Is there something you would consider?
I don't know how, because we're not, we don't fall under open meeting law, we don't fall under other categories. I'm not certain how that would, there would be no order to that. We have no authority.
Yeah,
to-
sure,
yeah.
So, I guess the only thing I would say is that to that point of not rushing, that being on this group, and I'm only speaking for myself, has given me about 50% more faith that I lost almost completely in the town of Georgia. We were a group of 7 who came together and we were, I would say 90+% completely on the same page.
Yeah.
We all, in our very first draft, we indicated, I think, exactly the same points that needed to be updated. It's been very, very productive, and there's, I would say, through the whole process, I don't even think we've had a disagreement.
good, good.
So-
And it's okay to disagree or not see the
Sure.
same views as long as that's all handled in a very respective, and cooperative manner. So that's great.
And I hope it sets a precedent for in the future. Other community groups that can help out with decisions like this, that I hope that it, that it follows the same path that you guys, we appreciate all that you guys have done.
Very much.
Yeah, well, thank you for helping us get on the straight and narrow.
And I'll send you an email first thing in the morning.
All right,
Thank you,
thank you,
Kyle.
Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle.
And so not needing to take any action on that, let's take a look at legal trail 4. Do we have anybody who would like to, this is an action, would anybody like to
I move
make a motion?
that we authorize the chair of the select board to sign this amendment. I guess that's it. Okay, I'll go through it in more explanation.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, discussion.
I'll give you a little update.
Yeah,
Before we get into discussion. Okay. Some time ago, like I think at our last meeting, I asked the board to see if they'd authorize me, and I had suggested that Tony go with me as a member of the conservation committee and somebody that's been involved in the trail thing for some time. Or the fence in the trail situation. All right. So we went down, we walked or drove along to see where they had staked out to put the fence. And they immediately informed us that there was a portion where the topography of the ground is such, it's almost impossible to put a fence there because of the slope. So a proposal was made by them to go ahead and, to ask us if we would allow an impingement of 10 to 15 feet into the trail area itself, the right of way, in that slope area. But the majority of the trail looks like it is on the boundary line like it's supposed to be.
Okay,
And in exchange for that, they are waiving the $20,000 that we were going to be required to, as our portion of the moving of the fence at some time. So my personal feeling is I think it's a pretty good deal. That's, the land is essentially worthless. It's slope land, doesn't help anybody on the trail or anything like that. So the fence is to be moved to the extreme right of what's considered the passable roadway, if you will, okay, of the trail.
and Tony's here with us too, right? So I imagine you were going up and down this hill as Carl's spotter. What was your take?
We were like that.
I see.
I understand where Carl was coming from. I was really concerned. We were taking what is gentleman's name? Price took us down there and instructed.
Danria.
Yeah. He took us down there and he showed a line of stakes that defined, according to him, is the property line. And then he had a line of stakes where he is gonna put the fence. And that was his words. This is before an agreement was made. Fence belongs here, he's gonna put it here.
Well, that's where they'd like to go.
Really set a bad station. Anyhow. And the reason for it is just, when they extracted all that sand years ago, they actually ate into the trail right of way. So part of the slope now is a trail.
Okay.
And the fence is not impossible to put up there, it's difficult, yes. However, what got us into this mess 10 years ago or whatever, we gave him approval for that fence, but nothing was defined in dimensions or locations. He just wanted to use a small portion.
Mhm.
And so I think, at a minimum, and I brought this up to Dan, I said, should be fence plan,
Should be what, Tony?
Fence plan.
Fence plan.
and he needs a
Fence
permit
plan.
for fence.
Design.
Well, okay.
So he has the plan. Mark on the plan, where his property line is, where the fence is gonna go. And define where the deviation is. So 10 years from now, if this thing comes up, you don't have to go, well, he said this, he said that, it's defined then by a plan. I don't think that's too difficult. We got $12 for the permit, but he can get it on one of his drawings, the location of it, so it can be properly recorded.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about him asking for this. Like, why couldn't he go closer to his property instead of going 15 feet over the line?
He could put the fence anywhere on his property.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He could get down to the bottom of the slope. I had mentioned that a while back.
Okay,
How far is the bottom? Is it further to go that way than it is to go this way?
Yes,
You have to go off the regular.
Okay, so he's looking at the closest solution, okay.
I guess I'm just nervous to say, yeah, you don't have to pay us to just do this thing, this undefined thing, right? It's undefined.
no,
And
it's
then-
very defined.
Well,
It's the base-
Defined by
Tony's
stakes.
point, though, I think I agree. I think we do, if we're going to do this, we need to define where our property is and that property line is not defined by the fence, but rather that is simply the trail, but our property boundary.
He's surveyed. You know.
It may also require a site plan amendment.
Yeah, like if you're saying that it's sandy and sloped, how is he gonna put a fence that's gonna stay? Like, I guess obviously I'm not a fence builder and I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but it sounds like it's, at some point, it's gonna be to be repaired. And like, who's to say he's not gonna,
We're not going on the slope. I mean, that's the whole purpose of this
okay,
amendment, okay? It's
So
not,
he's
They're,
going onto the
they're,
trail.
yes, they're diverting around this.
Above it, I
Yeah,
believe.
there's a section coming up from 104A towards Fairfax,
Mhm,
which is right on the boundary line.
mhm.
And they get to this area where this property drops off at a rather, 60% grade or whatever it is, okay? And that's the area they would like to infringe into our right of way. To put the fence through that, and then at a little further up, it actually goes on to more onto his property than on the town property. It goes up to their upper fence.
Okay, and it doesn't impede on the trail.
No,
I see where you're coming from, and I do agree that, even though this, I understand a little bit hesitancy to just sign a piece of paper and given our past history with this issue.
Yeah.
Um,
I think maybe to say, yes, pending approval of a permit.
well, that brings up the other issue.
well, we have
I've gone to
our
Doug,
zoning administrator here,
He says that the agreement itself says it is a permit.
The select board has final authority. Anything that I do in that office,
Mhm.
to me, you guys are making an agreement directly with the landowner in this case, I mean, it's gonna supersede anything that I'm gonna do, I believe, in the permitting office, so. I'm not sure if a permit, for a permit for me, it's just going to be a simple. Page for a fence, but it's not gonna be on the property line, so it's outside the zoning regs, so. This is where it all is gonna come back to you guys anyways.
What about it? Wouldn't he be on our property?
Right, so you're gonna,
Wouldn't we
right,
want
you're
to do
gonna,
some type
this
of
is what you're
easement?
doing here, yes, and you're doing that by this document.
Betty, you have a comment?
Is the slope such that having the fence on ours will prevent people from falling over on the slope and
Yes.
keep them on the trail? That might be something you might want to consider too, as the safety factor and the liability of the town if you've got a slope there and some kid walking on the trail falls over the cliff.
Yeah,
I
we're
just have
also
one.
considering that we could save $20,000, so.
Yeah, I just like to.
Yeah.
reiterate again, this is going on for 10 years. And Tony's well aware of this, he's made all of us aware of it, okay? And the fence was put, as far as he's concerned, in the wrong area, even though the select board at that time approved where it was. Anyway, make a long story short, over a 10-year period, we tried to get this resolved. And I thought we'd gotten to that point. And June 30th is just around the corner and they're ready to drill these fence posts and get it done by June 30th. I'm hoping they can make it by then. And, you know, this is just the holdup. I didn't want to, I mean, the way the agreement was, we were supposed to go and agree that where the fence was put is really what it amounts to, or was going to go, okay? Presumed on the boundary. And when we went, it was clear that unless with much difficulty, as they say, the Corps of Engineers under extreme circumstances like war probably could put them. I'm kidding, Tony, but you know what I mean? It would be very expensive to put that fence in the slope line. And what value do we gain?
Yeah.
And what value does anybody gain? The land is not anything that can be used, is it's in such a.
I don't think anyone's questioning that. I think people just want to make sure it's documented, so 10 years from now, there isn't a question.
Yeah,
who owns what property.
I will discuss with them that, like Tony says, that there be something that shows where the actual boundary is versus where the fence is. I think that's what he's looking for.
This surveyor put the stakes in,
Yeah,
so he should be able to get that on a piece of paper.
Just do a site.
Where the boundary is and
Yeah.
where the deviation is.
okay.
And
So,
then as far as the permit, goes, I still think you need a permit for a fence. Now, there's an attachment to that, which would be the select board's attachment, giving the deviation.
Okay,
that's right.
My understanding is the reason planning / DRB and select board are incompatible offices is because permitting, you're not supposed to basically have one entity in power of everything in the town, which you're basically by saying you're authorizing a permit is doing so.
Well, I don't think we're authorizing anything. I think
Well, I
we're
mean,
saying
basically,
we're
by saying,
requiring-
you know,
we're saying that they're requiring.
is permit. And the second thing I'd like to point out is just clarification, Tony is not on conservation commission.
oh, okay, sorry about that. Okay.
Carl, is that gonna be your question there or anything else?
No, not so much that. I just wanted, unfortunately, I don't have the initial agreement that we signed, but I think the beginning of that states that this is the granting of a permit to allow
Okay.
Mr. Bryce to, et cetera, you know. What's the state there in the beginning?
It sounds
We
to
have
me,
that.
sorry.
It was the initial agreement there, if you want to hand that to me, okay? So that's why when I've asked Doug, he says, well, he already says it is a permit, okay, so, the agreement. Yeah, the town hereby grants to permittee a permit as follows, okay?
Okay.
For limited vehicular use, et cetera, and to relocate the chain link fence currently installed. So I mean, this agreement essentially says it is a permit to do that.
So the only thing we're missing is a site plan that shows the diagram, basically, right? That's all we basically need to document.
I just have record a Mylar of that. Be all set. He
That should not be a problem, right?
Susanna,
already has the
So,
site plan.
If fence is part of this landowner, does it go with the land, or is this a temporary deviation for this land?
I can't answer that. I don't
Because
know.
you're fencing off some town land, I understand right now it's a slope, it doesn't mean it's gonna always be a slope, and we're never gonna get it back, because it'll always be on the other side of the fence, can we sell them the land?
No, it's still our land, okay, the way I understand it.
I know,
it's just
but
put in these
It's
local-
of no value to us, we can't even get to it. Once the fence goes up,
We do a
right?
boundary line adjustment, do it that way.
fresh
Or an easement.
I don't think the town actually owns the land, isn't it just right away over the land?
No, the town
No,
owns that.
the town owns
Do we
it.
actually own that? It's one of the few roads that we actually own.
So it sounds like we could also, I don't know if there's any time limit on us proposing that they buy.
I think there is because
There is,
Well, for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we put in the agreement that it was supposed to be completed by June 30th, and right now, this is holding up that work, okay, so. I could speak with Dan and the parties involved, and
well, we do.
I don't know why we wouldn't move forward, and as long as we agree, I mean, I'm gonna have to get an agreement from them.
Well, I mean,
That they would give us this property line showing where the survey line is and where the fence is actually
Yeah.
going, okay?
yeah, I
And
mean,
most of it, remember, 2/3 of the fence essentially is on the boundary or on his property, okay, so, all right.
I mean, if we agree that the original plan is a decent plan, I don't see the point, I mean, unless selling it is a much better plan, right? I've been told you stick with the plan. All right, so it sounds like the only thing that we really need to do is update the permit to include the
Site plan.
site plans.
And what were you saying, Doug, about Mylar and?
Well, yeah, when he
that's-
does
that's
the
what
site
it is.
plan,
Okay.
we'll
Record
just
it in
record
my-
the site plan.
All right, would you, do we need to make an amendment to the motion in order to do that?
I believe we do.
All right, Carl, would you like to make an amendment to your original motion?
I amend my motion that we authorize the chair to sign this agreement that would include a caveat that says that a Mylar would be filed with this amendment to show the property line and the deviation of where the fence is actually put.
Okay, do we have a second for the amendment?
Second.
Any discussion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Would you like, can we, I'd like to call this, motion to a vote. All in favor of the motion as amended?
Sorry.
Aye.
Aye. All right,
That's just for him to sign, okay, for Devin to sign.
Has there been any comments or questions on Zoom?
sorry, I'm just, which part am I supposed to sign? Sure.
I think you're number one, and Dawn. He's number one.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Duly authorized.
All right,
The others are all Right.
Where it says
Right.
yeah,
Yes.
there we go. All right, there we go.
Thank you. I'm hoping this gets us to a final conclusion on this issue after 10 years.
No, good work. Well, we'll see. Any of us are around here in 10 years to have to deal with this.
You haven't dealt with it, so.
Oh, thank you kindly. All right, so. Well. You guys till Star Trek.
Is that how you get through your month?
Oh, good.
Hey, we all have our way.
Perfect. All right, we are on the stump dump removal, and that is an action. So would anybody like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to, are we disbanding the ordinance? I believe. I would like to make a motion to disband the ordinance
Just to
from
get it out there. So we can.
Yeah,
September 1987.
Wow. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
wait,
Okay,
I'm curious,
So this has gotta go through a process, but are you guys fine with us looking into getting the removal of the stump dump, seeing how we don't have a stump dump in Georgia anymore, but we have an ordinance that we don't need?
It looks like the rest of the stuff in this packet almost is all
Is that
about
telling you how
the
to get rid of
process
it?
you go through to remove it. So will we be authorizing it this time?
like, do
Just
we,
to get the process going?
all right.
do we need a stump dump?
Not anymore, that's why.
It works with-
Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't, it's not possible, at least not at that location.
Coming out behind my house.
That's a good point. I think there already is one behind his house.
Yeah.
So. You have anything else you'd like to observe there, Jay?
No, good.
All in favor of the motion? Aye. The item D, the Georgia Community Events Committee. Do we have anybody who would like to present? Thank you.
Sarah Savage. We, the BCEC submitted some questions to the board around today. And Cheryl promptly responded, thank you, Cheryl. But we have some more follow-up questions, I suppose. First of all, our chair, Candace Walbert, has stepped down, so now it's gonna be Kate Driver. He's our chair. Please send all questions to her. If somebody comes asking about GCEC, please go to her. We've had a lot of turnover in the GCEC. It's been really hard because there's like basically 3 of us who are getting things going. So what we're trying to do is help anybody who comes in who has no idea what they're doing. We're trying to have give them a packet or some kind of information on how to do things. But what I realized is that I don't. So, we had a bunch of questions that we were asking because of the budget, who we report to. We're trying to get those all written and so that we can have those on the record. In case the whole committee disbands like it kind of seems like it is right now, and somebody else needs to pick it back up. One of the things is we do have gatherings on the green. They're supposed to happen in about 2 weeks, I think, 2.5 weeks. And I do realize that we're supposed to do all these things before that, but none of that has been done. And that there's been a bunch of money allocated towards Georgia recreation funds. And so we just need an idea of like what you guys are going to support as a select board, what kind of support we have from you guys, if we can have, are you willing to show up to any of the events to help us, especially next one, we're gonna have a venue change. And I don't know if like we need to set up like a meeting to like get all of our questions and follow-up questions and questions answered, or how to make that happen and to get it written down so that when we do have chair turnover, it's easy to pass along the torch to somebody else. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one, I guess, do we have your guys' support and what does that look like? And then how do we get all of these answers, especially since we're up against events that we promised?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
oh, that the events are coming soon. I think that one thing that we can do, first off is schedule a meeting, even if it's on Zoom or with just 1 or 2 people from the board. To get concrete questions answered in terms of financials, what you can and can't schedule, plan on, spend. Because without seeing the proposals, we can't say yes or no, obviously. But then also, I think that all of us on the board are more than happy to be involved in community events. And I think bringing us into that conversation about, these are the days that we're having events, these are the things that we need help with, these are the things that we want to spend the money on, like, you know, or like, I guess the other question is, who has within GCEC, and I'm assuming it's the chair, but when they say, okay, we want to buy, are you just buying bands for right now? That's with not talking about Fall Fest yet. Who has the buying authority for the bands? I guess is my question.
So when I was chair of the
Mhm.
GCC,
Mhm.
I would organize it all,
Mhm.
and then we would submit a check to the board that had it signed off, because it had to be on warrants.
Yep,
So
okay,
that the checks would be there for when the board, when the band showed up. We also sent out letters and we raised money for donations. So that it was not all just on the cost of the
Yeah.
town, that paid for a lot of things that
Okay.
GCC did. And I did tell Kate, I did see her, and I did tell her if she needed any help, let me know. You seeing that Candace had stepped down, I didn't realize Candace was stepping down, that I would definitely
okay.
help you guys with anything you need to talk with.
So I think that, it would be great for us to have a sit down. And
Maybe that might.
okay, I can schedule that ASAP.
Event for June 28th. And like, I don't think they're representing, but like, I can't even send that one.
Okay, and I would imagine that, I'm sorry to ask budget guys, but I think myself and somebody on budget who has some free time, on the finance committee who has some free time would be good representatives from the board. So we can sit down, chat with you and see what we need. Maybe Cheryl, if you want to join us to give some advice, as a seasoned vet for all this, that would be good as well, and we can put together a plan.
Okay, and then so do we come to you, like we say we need, how do we come to you, let's say we need like actual people? Do we come to you for that, or like how? can
Yeah.
we-
People to help out with the event.
Yeah,
I think that there's two things that we can do. First off, on our website, there's a volunteer tab. I think that it would be great if we had a way to post that on our website. Even on the front page, if there isn't other pressing news. That we could post that GCEC needs volunteers for gatherings on the greens, for Fall Fest, those kinds of things. Second off, we are willing to help when we can. But we're gonna have that conversation, but I think that, you know, between Facebook and the website, posting that GCEC needs volunteers,
Yeah.
everybody loves gatherings on the green, everybody loves Fall Fest, we need help.
I agree with that. Heather and then Betty.
Sarah, maybe if you post on your page, some specifics that you have for volunteers. So if you need somebody who is gonna do parking, or if you need
Yeah.
somebody who is gonna set up something, if you put those specifics down of what people
Yeah.
needed, then if somebody looks at it, they may like, oh, I can do that small piece. But if you just say, I need volunteers, then people are gonna be like, I don't know what that's gonna look like, so maybe I don't wanna do that. So maybe a little bit of specifics might get some people to bite.
Yes, Betty.
I'm assuming that the high school seniors still have to do community service, and that should be a good opening, because if you give them credit for doing community service in their own town, it kills two birds with one stone for them, and they're willing to do it.
You always try.
Yeah, and know that the select board and the town appreciate your work. It is one of the only things, obviously not the only, but one of the only things that we do, you know, at the town, to put on an event to bring the community together. Obviously not the only, I know the fire department does some things and other people do some things, but it is community-wide appreciated events, and we want to see them continue.
yes.
All right.
One more thing. So I know that there is a line, a budgeted line that is not tied to the rec director position this year. But that is potentially, I guess, does that mean that if I were somebody in the town and I wanted to have a recreational type activity, could I petition the select board for any part of that fund that is set aside?
I don't think it works like that, unfortunately, because I
Just making sure,
believe.
say, like, I think she's saying it from the point of, can they count on that money
Yes.
as the GCEC? Because right now it's kind of undefined.
It's budgeted as Georgia recreational something. It's not tied to our name. And while I understand that that's kind of our line item, I do know that it was raised.
Mhm.
So that to me sounds like it's tax money. So that sounds a little ambiguous to me, right? It's not like we're secured that budget.
So there, that money that was raised is no longer on that budget line, the $10,000 or $11,000 is there now is what was put in there into the budget by the town.
Okay.
So that's what that money is, and then once this rec director position gets filled, all of that's supposed to be tied into
Correct.
one, yes, and then the GCEC will look with the rec director, to they'll do that.
So we'll be reporting to the rec director at that point.
Yes, it's all gonna be kind of.
Did we get that?
Yes.
We're working on it.
All right.
I just ask that we be informed when that happens, because I feel like all of this is like totally off the cuff, you know, I had no idea about that before. Okay,
No,
thank you.
no, so it makes total sense. All right. All right. Thank you so much, Sarah. Did I get your name right?
Sarah.
Okay. Item number E, the livestock ordinance. Can I have, since this is an action item, though I'm not entirely sure what the action will be, can I have a motion to at least go into discussion?
I move we enter into a discussion relative to the livestock ordinance and the issues with livestock of recent times.
Can I have a second for that?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Yes. And I'm sorry, I it takes me a while to get names down. Joanne. Okay,
Obviously, I did extensive research, because it's happening on our roads and it's, not only is it inconvenient, it's also, very dangerous. So, I did a lot of research. I went to the state police. They don't deal with it. They pushed it over sort of to the, game ordinance. They don't deal with it. I called the animal control officer here in town. She was very wonderful. However, she deals with small animals and really doesn't have the authority to do anything at all. So then I came to the town clerk's office, obviously, and talked to Cheryl and tried to see what to do. So then I went to the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. There was a case in Sheffield and Woodbury and Calais. And it passed. They had an ordinance because they had horses that were out continually. And they were able to put some teeth into their ordinance so that there could be something that could be done. We are the landowners along there, and obviously I'm very honest about the whole thing. We've been trying to get this taken care of for the last 2 years, and we're in court. But my concern as a former teacher and as a parent and a grandparent and a townsperson, I've lived on that road for 52 years. We had cows, I had horses. It was never a problem. They were out there putting fences were fixed. One night there were 69 of them. We're not talking 5 animals here. We're talking 69. I know that, I don't know if Todd's here. Is Todd here? Todd was helping put them in along with a ton of other people. It was at 8:30 at night, dusk, dark, same night that the young man was killed on the Mill Road. And the call came in. Todd had to leave putting the cows in with all these people to go to that call. My concern is public safety. If my house is on fire, I don't want a fire truck going down through there. There was a lot of talk on Facebook, obviously, because that becomes the modus operandi. People were making fun of everybody that was talking about it, and it's ridiculous, it's never gonna happen, blah, blah. A deer jumped onto the hood of my car at 5 miles an hour in my own driveway. And it totally front into my car. And that was a button buck that weighed 110 pounds.
no, I mean,
Those
right,
cows are big.
so as a bit of filler, right after the incident that popped up on Facebook, they got out again. And it was right near the curve where
Right, big one.
Cindy's barber shop is,
Yep.
and, I was driving my daughter to school, and if it wasn't for people flashing their headlights, you just turn that corner and there's this cow looking at you right in the middle of the road. So I definitely see how it is it can be a hazard. And also we maintain the road, so I would imagine there's something that we can do.
So I like the idea. Can you share those other ordinances with us?
They're right on the Vermont League of Cities and Towns
Yeah.
website.
Yeah.
That's where I found them, but somebody pointed me to them, actually, that I talked with. And I went to look at it, it was recent, it was 2022 and 2023.
What
Jamie,
section?
we have Colleen working on the ordinance right now.
Okay,
Looking into what the other areas have, the state to bring forward to the board.
because we definitely need,
Suggestions, we just need to know who we want to pursue.
yes, we definitely want it to have teeth, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't want, like, I remember reading the paper a few years back down in central Vermont, right?
Yes.
Like somebody hit a cow or a bull, he went to jail. Because his bull kept getting out and finally a couple died. And that was it, like, and we don't want that here, obviously, so.
There was an incident when states were involved.
Mhm.
The car did go by late at night. Todd was actually there, saw a cow in the ditch, and the car did hit the cow. But it hit its head. And did damage to the car, but the car didn't stop. So the car didn't report it. See, but, so the state troopers were aware, they were notified. They did visit the farmers.
They came down and talked to me also, and it was very, very supportive.
So there was an incident there, and but the state troopers did say there wasn't much that they could do, the town had to get.
Sure, and if I'm not mistaken, like the whole thing behind it was like somebody's leasing the land and. You know, now they're not gonna get the land or something, so they don't wanna fix the fence, and so either way, I think we as a board and a town and, you know, safety is a big deal. We should definitely, I think we should pursue this.
Yeah, hold on, I'd just like to ask one question, Joanne.
Yeah.
Which town did you say passed the ordinance?
It was Sheffield, Callis, and Woodbury were the three, apparently it's like a board type thing, I don't know. Yeah, it was three towns, and it's right on the Vermont League of Cities and Towns website, because I went to look at it.
Can we have Colleen look at that and like try to like,
She has.
okay, good,
I was
good,
just saying that I was just thinking we should just get in touch with the boards over there and ask about it.
There's another safety issue on it too. I was going to church and cows were in the road and I had to stop. Somebody came from the other direction and they decided they were gonna get through. And so they're herding the cows with their car towards my car, and I had to back up in order that the cows didn't run into me. It's a real safety issue there. It's bad enough with the deer that cross there. Yeah, there is. And there's a lot of deer that cross that road too.
Yeah.
And they love that corner.
And if you're gonna be an animal owner, you should protect your animals,
Yes.
whether or not, whatever their destiny is.
The cows on.
They need to be
Plains Road
taken
have
care
almost become legendary, but the cows
It's
everywhere
been-
else
it's
in the
been
town.
5
don't seem to
years.
be.
5 years of this constant,
Yeah.
you know, turn one road.
Okay,
Okay,
so the one last thing I wanna mention.
and then Brian, okay.
I just wanted to mention, I mean, you go first, because this is kind of a caveat to this, so you go.
Did you talk with Agency Ag at all to see? what they
Well, I was pointed to, talk to just about everybody.
can- That's why I asked.
Right, the Agency of Agriculture really didn't provide much information other than a formal complaint, which I was not willing to do because of the litigation. So, that kind of ties my hands. I'm trying to do it as a citizen, not as a litigant. I don't understand anything that's going on. We had cows, I had horses.
Mhm.
They get out, we put them in, and it was, because I didn't want to be liable. That was my big thing, is as an animal owner, I didn't want anything to happen to animals, but I also didn't want to be liable. So I don't understand this mindset, I guess, is what I'm saying.
But Brian, that is a good point. I do think that we can speak more with the agency of ag. I think their head of the agency of ag lives here in town too. Did I see a comment over there?
Yeah, I was just wondering, have we, is it always the same break in the fence or is it
No.
multiple breaks? And when they're pointed out to this person, they don't fix them?
They don't, you call, no one answers the phone. Sometimes they come, sometimes they don't. If it's a large group and a lot of people are annoyed, they do. I know they're on Malcolm Baker's lawn quite frequently. They're in my sister-in-law's backyard quite frequently. And
Been a couple different herds in my yard over the years.
Red flag.
it's just one of those things where you don't feel as though you're being heard. And a lot of times on Facebook, they're making fun of people. Some lady said, I saw a dying cow. I'm really worried about that. Everybody made fun of her. Not everybody, but a lot of people made fun of her. I went up. Farmer said, or his son said, not dying, just laying down, cows laying down. Somebody else said, oh, I went up and checked, she was fine. Next morning, I went up, I could show you pictures. Not only, I thought the cow was dead, I walked up to it and it most certainly was not dead, but it was covered in feces and mud and dirt. And I was in tears, quite frankly, because that's not what I like. He did come that time, but it's a real issue and I don't know what to do about it. I don't ever come to the town complaining.
Well, I think it's worth it. I think, we all have obligations and, I grew up working on the farm, right? And like you said, fences break, you fix them. I love the idea of obviously getting a better ordinance and getting that sorted out. So, I mean, I'm glad we're working on it. And I for one approve to go forward with this.
Yeah.
And we
I'm
got
glad
more.
you decided to show up. Susanna.
I like the idea of the ordinance. There is a state statute that allows the town, to fine people $10 for every time that their cattle, horses, sheep, goats, or swine run at large.
Oh, perfect.
And so.
Does it go up
$10 per animal?
$10.
Per animal?
It's a state statute. It's not very clear and why it would be $10 on a home, I don't
It's
know.
probably written in the fifties.
So I think our current ordinance is if we were like, for instance, if we add cattle to it, like if they're out this one time, it's like $75 and then it goes up within.
That's what it should.
Yeah, it definitely goes up significantly the more it happens within the 6-month period. So, I mean, we could even put teeth on there and make
Yeah.
it more.
So, Cheryl.
So the officer that I spoke to said that there is a $25 fine that they can give, but they've been advised by the state's attorney not to fine them because it says that they have to be letting their cows out. They intentionally have to be letting them out. I said, who's gonna be intentionally letting?
Who's the state's attorney?
The state,
That doesn't sound.
you mean the
Lavoy is the
attorney?
state's attorney here.
For
The way it's worded is a person who knowingly commits.
Yeah, they're intentionally letting.
So
them
it
out.
doesn't say they're letting them out, but it.
They know that they're getting out.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
So if they know that they're getting out because someone has told them about this hole and they're getting out through that hole.
And they
that
know
would
they
be
haven't
permitted.
fixed the fence.
Correct, that would be considered
So they,
permitting.
they couldn't find.
4 years of getting out is kind of knowing.
Yeah, I think at this point.
So we're
I
gonna,
do think it's best to err on the side of caution with these sort of things.
Oh, yeah.
But I do think that we can, at the very, I think we can update the ordinance. And if we update the ordinance, that should provide some teeth, some incentive to repair those.
so I want to make a motion.
So,
We have a
thank-
motion.
I appreciate the enthusiasm. Jamie would like to make.
No, I
some-
think we're.
No, we don't have, the motion was to enter into discussion.
Okay,
That's not a motion that we need to follow through on. If we want an actual motion.
well, what are we doing with this motion then?
This motion was just an open discussion. You just do a motion to open discussion.
What we didn't do was approve the motion.
Yeah, that's.
You don't, yeah, you don't approve those motions. Brian and then Betty.
I would just advise that maybe we would err on caution. I mean, I know that emotions get high sometimes on things, but agriculture has been a base of Vermont for many years.
Mhm.
Joanne knows this, she's been this for her whole life, and she does not want to take an honest farmer and throw teeth at him. No, that's in general,
Yeah.
that's in general here. And throw teeth at him for a cow that gets out. But she doesn't want 69 animals roaming her road so that a family of 4 gets killed.
Yeah.
But I think that, you know, when you do this, there has to be a little bit of, there has to be some.
Like
I think the idea of incremental,
like a requirement to fix the fence.
Yeah.
Right, like,
Betty,
I was just gonna say, you've got to, there's so many farmers being put out. And Vermont owns its open lands to the farmers, and you won't have open lands if they're not in business, you'll have pucker brush. But I think you need to err on the side of dealing with proper fencing to keep animals in. And not all the fines and stuff, but if the fence is not proper, then you put something in, because having had cows for years, there are some cows, I can remember selling one because it got out on Route 7 and it could go through any fence that you put up.
Yeah.
And we finally sold it just to get rid of it, so it wouldn't hit a car or a car hit it. But
yeah.
so I think it's,
No,
I think,
I think we all get that. We recognize that this is a town that has strong roots, especially with cattle. We don't want to penalize anybody because sometimes cows get out. I do think, you know, we also need to keep in mind that the majority of farmers here, you know, they don't let these sort of problems persist. And so it's important for us to sort of just enforce a baseline here. And I think that's really the intention. Joanne?
I was just gonna comment that if you're gonna put a thing, you know, must maintain your fence, whatever, who's going to be in charge of going and? I mean, we're
Who's gonna
talking about
enforce it?
months of fences.
I think we would authorize our animal.
Yeah, I think that's what we were talking about originally, was starting to gather this information and
Yeah,
write the ordinance.
yeah, we're really just here to
Yeah.
approve that we want to
Yeah.
move forward.
Yes,
but hopefully our animal control.
That-
officer
yeah,
won't
we
have
will
problems
appoint
taking
somebody.
on
yeah.
Livestock is.
So let's
along
do
with
that.
Good to see it's moving in a positive direction,
Of course.
because I'm scared to death for people.
Well, I thank you for showing up here.
And hopefully this will resolve the Facebook issue.
All right, so did you still want to make a motion?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to move forward with revising the livestock, well, it's not the livestock ordinance, the town animal ordinance. That's what it's called, right?
Or writing a new one.
Or
We
writing,
have the animal control, as a domestic dog, we can add to that one and kind of, so it's.
well, we want to revise, so if we can put in a few more things that people have successfully done in other towns, then that would be, I think, a good thing too.
So just combine one.
And bring
Yeah.
that to our next meeting on the 6th, I believe?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have anybody that would like to second that?
I'll second that.
Do we have any discussion that anybody would like to make on that? All in favor of that?
I,
Aye. Alright. Our next item is our town plan, and I imagine Susanna, that is why you are here.
No, it's totally not why I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Adele is here.
Do we have anybody that would be presenting on that?
I could talk about it.
All right,
Cause she just happened to be here.
Golf to Albert and back, and I just made it real late. Alright. Down plan, so we got an estimate from Northwest Regional Planning for the amount of work that they could provide for us. They're sort of booked up, so they don't have a lot of room to fit us in. And then based on the cost of what Northwest gave us, ballpark, we want to go out to private companies that do the same work and see what they could provide for that amount of money. But we have nothing in our budget, so we're looking for $6,000, is that right?
Yeah, the board approved. Or the board approved asking for $6,000. Which was the estimate from Northwest Regional just for the data portion. A full town plan is gonna be roughly 30,000 from who I've talked to. But at some point,
That will get us through this year and get us started, and then we may or may not get some grant money for next year to help us out with a portion of this.
Carl,
Yeah, the 6,000 will get us through this year, not the 35,000 or whatever, right?
We're trying to do as much as we can with that 6,000 this year
Okay.
and hold the.
So what would be
focus
the
across.
difference if we came up to $35,000 for a private firm to do this town plan,
That would,
accelerate?
yes,
Yeah,
it would help us out.
I think we seriously.
Because
need
we
to
do
consider
have a
that.
time crunch next year if we hold on.
Yeah. I seriously think we need to consider that. I think we need to look at our budget and see if there's something in the budget where we could allocate that 35,000. We're way behind.
Or a lot more. Yeah. The more you give us, the more we can do this year.
using the private, if we go with a private entity, we could probably get it done this year with 30,000, which would get us that step ahead. The problem with the grants, they just put the grants out, last month? I think she said, when we met with her.
In May, they
May,
came
right.
out,
And then
but
who's
she
doing
expects
the
next
work to
year that
apply
they're
for
gonna
it?
come out earlier, but is
Right.
earlier like April or
The
February?
problem is by
Because
the time they release the grant,
we need to be
we need to
almost
be
done.
done.
Well, yes, but if we were to assign in, if we apply for the grant and get it and we're using other monies, we then get reimbursed.
We
No,
don't,
you
we
can't
don't know
reimburse.
that. We were gonna,
You can't get
The
reimbursed.
grant specifically says you cannot get reimbursed.
right?
It says it on the grant.
Are you entertaining a motion? I would make a motion that we task the finance committee with looking to see if we can come up in our budget, $35,000 to hire a private entity to prepare the town plan.
do we have somebody who would be willing to second that?
Okay, so we're just tasking
The,
budget and finance to look and have
Yeah.
a conversation.
yeah,
I'll second that.
all right, do we have any discussion?
I'm concerned it's a little premature, given all the other challenges. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, I'm sorry, Fred.
No, you,
Given the other financial challenges, I think our town and board faces this year, which are yet to be determined. I think until we are clear of some of those hurdles, I don't think we should be earmarking any additional dollars. That's just my 2
okay,
cents.
Fred,
So when you say you're up against a deadline, isn't that just if you don't make that deadline, you can't change any zoning regulations? It's not like everything falls apart. That means you can't change regulations. So if there's a concern about regulations you want to change, maybe you could change, if there's a few that, are pressing, maybe if you change them before the deadline, then you're still in, so.
You want to answer?
sure,
So part of the issue that we have currently is that municipality, in my opinion, the municipality needs income, needs money, needs revenue. The town plan, in order for us to start to move forward on a village center, it needs to be in the town plan. We can't even start to go that direction until it's in the town plan. If once that you start to get those village centers or new town centers or whatever in the works, that opens up grant money for not only the town, but for developers to start to be able to develop. So a lot of these projects are being held until grant money becomes available. So it's kind of this chicken or egg type thing,
Yeah.
you invest the money in hopes of getting it back.
you gotta send it in order to
So,
hopefully make it.
yeah,
Um,
unfortunately got missed, thinking the last time of having that in there.
Keith,
I know you put out to us as department heads for ARPA. That was up, but could this be put maybe on the list for ARPA consideration?
I think,
Maybe a way of, and I don't know what the list of ARPA money thing is, but, maybe that's a way of, making this report.
Yeah. It is a one-time.
$30,000 to find already established budget, I would assume it's not there. You know what I mean?
How soon
Right,
did we?
that's what I'm saying, so
Did
maybe
we,
our.
no, we would be, did we earmark the money for that $20,000 for that?
Oh, that's finalized.
That wasn't finalized?
That's.
Well,
So we already have the 6,000 was already budgeted?
No,
No, the
Okay.
$20,000 for the fence.
No, I understand. I was asking the
Yeah,
previous
you're
question.
Zero budget.
All right, but I thought you had said the board approved $6,000.
No, we approved the
their own
asking.
board,
For the 6,000.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
approved asking.
their board.
They can't spend any.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, so I mean, we started with the ask of 6,000, but we're very quickly now jumping to the 30,000. What would the 6,000 get us? Just so I.
The data.
Get some data.
Just the data portion.
Okay,
I mean, anywhere in between there would be nice too. So, you know, the more you give us, the more we can get done this year.
sure. What amount do we need
Our
in order
problem
to be able to
is-
get that language in the town plan
We-
though? Because that's.
We
the
need
big
to
sticky-
finish the whole plan and go through the whole process of having public meeting. It's not like we can just change the language.
Yeah.
It's just like doing the regulations. We need to go through the whole process, have a complete plan. Give it to the townspeople to read, you guys to read, have public meetings, take comments, make tweets, and have it accepted. It's a long process. It's not a short thing. That's why the more time we have to work on it, the better. And the longer you take to approve this, we can't even go to ask people if we can hire them. So we don't know what their availability is, you know? So it's all
Send it to them.
kind of a circle.
Oh, I was gonna ask Jamie, since you're also on finance and budget, how are you feeling about all this?
I mean, it's tough. There's definitely just a lot of money that needs to go out. And not knowing where it's gonna come from, but, no, I'm happy to, get it to the committee and Nick and I can chat about it.
Just look into it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's the least we can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Betty and then Suzanne.
I'm hearing town plan, I'm hearing changing zoning and stuff. Many of us live in Georgia because we came here because it was the kind of community we wanted to be in. I think we need to be careful that we don't turn Georgia into the kind of community that the young people that are moving here are moving from to get away from. There's such a thing as being away from some of the things, and we don't need to have all of those amenities and town squares and all the things here. Other people left community because taxes got so high, because they voted for all of these things. I think we need to be careful and go very cautiously with doing something like this.
I mean, I don't want this place to turn into Burlington, but I mean, having a local restaurant that people could hang out, I can see that would be
So
fun.
we're saying all this.
I guess I would argue the statement that we need revenue, basically construction does not necessarily generate revenue. If you look at Burlington, I think our taxes are lower than Burlington. Basically, with population density, you don't get cheaper taxes, you get more services. And if you want services, move where there are services. If you want to live here, come here for what it is.
Well, I think one of the challenges that we're having right now, though, and I do agree with some of what you're saying, is that we need revenue generation just to maintain the town, town roads, bridges. You know, right now, we're faced with the last couple of years, looking at leveraging ARPA money, which is designed as one-time improvements. When that ARPA money goes away, how are we gonna satisfy the needs of all of that? Now, granted, grants are a big portion, but typically grants also require you to kick in a certain portion as well. So we're just concerned that we've got to have a little bit of revenue generation, because right now the town is also getting reductions in solar revenue and wind revenue that we were getting from years that was previously in the $200,000 range. It's now down to $40,000 communications. So that's all now going away. So we're trying to find something to help replace that just a little bit. Definitely not a Burlington or a Milton but we've got to start somewhere.
But my question, my caution would be that revenue also generates expenses. lot of times your expenses are hidden in the future, because I mean, if you have more people driving down the road, you're gonna have more wear and tear on the road. So that bridge that, you need to replace every, 50 years might be now 20 years, because now the traffic, I mean.
We're
look at-
open
look at-
to other ideas from the community.
I
how to
think
generate
Suzanne's raising her
revenue.
hand because she probably would be able to comment to that, and then Dawn.
Well, this is kind of out of order. Come to our meetings when we're writing the town plan and have this discussion.
Yeah.
This is not a select board discussion, but we were planning on spending $20,000 to move the fence. So it seems
Yep.
logical to me that we could approve $20,000 for us.
Yep, or possibly more. We just have to look at the numbers.
Dawn,
Yeah. On Zoom.
oh, we have a question on Zoom.
We can't see
We
it.
can't see it.
It's not so much a question, but I guess my only concern around this is, yes, we need revenue for the town and you need to have this town plan in place. But why are we trying to, I don't want to say rush it, because I know that there's a strict deadline, but given the meeting notes that I'm seeing from other boards and the potential development that is coming, I think that the town really needs to be aware that if you're going to add on more residential buildings or apartment buildings or condos in these places where developers want to develop, what are these fees going to be down the road for the town to send all these kids to high school that are going to be moving
We
into?
don't have, oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I do think that is,
Wait, who-
question. Well, I was gonna say, who are we addressing? Jenna, sorry. That does sound like something to bring to the planning commission. But we definitely hear you. So do we have any other comments or questions? All right, so, the vote, I'd like to, us to move with the vote on the motion to have our finance and budget committee explore means of raising the $30,000 to, is it pay for, apply for, what is it that we're trying to pay into here?
Yeah, to pay for the town plan.
Okay, to pay for the town plan. All right, Carl,
Yeah, I think we were looking at 35,000.
35,000?
I heard.
okay, well,
I think.
then again, I didn't make a motion, I'm just trying to remind us what it is. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right,
Yes, no, do you guys know if there's ever been an exploration of the 1% tax here in other towns of that?
Well,
And if so,
they're,
does
they're,
that generate?
We're not a chartered town,
Yeah.
it's backyard.
okay.
Some of us are already paying it. Because of our zip code.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
because we're not a chartered town, so.
And how we would ever get any revenue since we don't have a zip code.
Yeah,
It's supposed to go
True.
to plus.
that, yeah, it should be the plus 4 after.
okay, next is our trail ordinance. Do we have somebody, since that's not an action item, do we have somebody who's presenting?
I don't think there's anybody from, I don't know. Susanna, you're
I did
here.
not come to present the bill.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
We have got. You guys-
Then do we have anybody who plans on making a motion, Brian? Oh,
I would suggest, I would make a motion that we table the trail ordinance for one more meeting to give us a chance to read it. I mean, most of us got it in late here with the packet, okay, or I
Well,
was late.
I don't know if we should table it. Should we just move it to the next meeting?
Yeah, all right,
Yeah.
all right. I withdraw that.
I think table is.
You can just,
Move to the next meeting.
the motion hasn't been made yet, you can get, we get your point. And so, is anybody willing to second that motion?
To move.
To move the town.
I'll second.
The trail ordinance discussion to the next meeting
Okay.
on the 26th.
Jamie
Jamie is second. Any discussion?
Susanna, did you have?
Brian and then Susanna?
In your discussions or looking at the trail ordinance, I would urge the board to look at how much of a problem this really has created and whether you are trying to take care of a problem. Some minutes with stuff in the program. And tread lightly on what you do with ordinances. I would also bring to light for this ordinance that if you enacted it as it is now, it would be in direct conflict of another ordinance that is already in effect in the town. Which is an ordinance relating to all firearms. Respecting the Bill of Rights of the United States as.
Can you reference that for me?
So there was an ordinance passed. On April 25th, 1983. By the select board, Robert Douglas, Tory Ballard, Jill Rainville, and Robert Paterno. And it's an ordinance relating to all firearms. Respecting Article 2 Bill of Rights, Constitution of the United States. And in your ordinance at the bottom, you are adding on the discharge of firearms on legal trails is also prohibited.
What is the first?
We just would like to look that up.
It's running.
Yeah, what is it?
Right on the website.
Yeah.
It's an ordinance on the website.
And it says that you're allowed to shoot on the trails.
I can read the ordinance.
Yeah, yes, thank you, yeah, sorry, I just clarified.
That's fine. Whereas the right to live free, and to possess real and personal property is the most basic of all rights. And whereas the right to defend one's life, liberty, family, and property is a natural absolute right which cannot justly be denied. And whereas the Constitution of the United States of America, recognizing that fundamental right, has guaranteed that every citizen has the inalienable right to keep, own, possess, and bear, carry, and use arms in defense of person, property, freedom, and state. Now therefore be declared and hereby enacted by ordinance that every adult citizen, being of good character, sound mind, and legal age, is hereby recognized as having the right to keep and bear arms. It is further declared that every citizen, especially every head of household, has a responsibility and duty to self, family, and country to possess firearms and acquire the necessary knowledge for the safe and judicious use of said firearms. And they are encouraged, but not required to do so. But if further declared that any state statute, ordinance, or regulation within the jurisdiction which in any way infringes on the right is hereby abolished. Passed this 25th day of April 1983 by the governing body of the Georgia State of Vermont as witnesses of signatures herewith. Robert Douglas, Tory Ballard, Jill Rainbow, and Robert Paterno.
Okay, so, thank you for that, bringing that to our attention.
Yeah.
Suzanne,
There's also a hunting on town property policy which may come into play. It's short, I'll read it to you. Hunting on town property is allowed unless otherwise posted.
Oh, my God.
Nothing in town is posted, I'll let you know.
Oh.
Past select boards have been adamantly opposed to posting anything.
Including the town beach.
Speaking of hunch at the town beach, huh?
There's
People know
good
that.
deer there. Down the road. You can hunt there, a lot of places.
okay. Good to know. Good to know that come hunting season. Honestly, my in-laws might be interested in knowing that.
Wait, we just have to deem the cattle huntable animals.
Hey, that might be a slippery slope. Anyways,
And then we sell the beef.
so,
Statement for the night, where's the beef?
Yeah. Georgia.
all right, do we have any other discussion on this motion?
Any useful?
I guess,
I take any discussion.
well, I guess one question is, are they still revising this? Or, I mean, I see it here, but I thought it was with the other committee. Susanna,
For a commission.
sorry.
Commission.
I think we finished with it, but I am not sure that everyone in town is aware, but we lost one of our members unexpectedly.
Please, no, really tell everybody, because I don't think everybody knows.
I'm not sure that I want to say this on camera, but one of our members unexpectedly passed away. And so we're having a hard time with that right now, because you don't expect somebody that you know work with all the time to suddenly be gone.
Was
And
that in relationship to all the activity?
No, just don't.
he was
Oh,
fishing.
wait, I'm sorry.
He was fishing. So, so I think that we finished with it, but I don't really know, and we've been trying to work through this other thing, so.
Sure.
I think someone has a final version, I'm not sure that they sent it to you, it could have been him, you know, so I'm not really sure where that's at. We did work on it, I'm pretty sure we came to a conclusion, but whether somebody forwarded that to you or anybody else.
So let's look into that. We
We're
can,
meeting next week.
Okay.
so,
Okay.
So right now, we have a motion on the floor. I
We
think I made
do.
it.
Jamie made a motion. I believe it was seconded. We're in discussion right now. So the motion is to,
push it to next meeting.
yeah, push the ordinance to next meeting. So I would like to call the vote. All in favor? Aye. All right. Passes. Where did I put my agenda?
New fire truck.
New fire truck. There it is. Do we have a reason presenters?
do.
Yeah, right.
Pete,
Pete,
come on up.
there you
Come
go.
on, Pete.
You,
Get a front row
It's up to you.
seat here.
there you go.
Alright, so, all I was here to ask a question is, so the new fire truck was approved not to exceed $400,000 back in December of 2021. The truck was ordered and I think it was that January immediately following it. Probably to be delivered, I would say by July. At this point, it's they're thinking maybe by the end of June, but it's close, I guess is the way to put it. The truck was prepaid at $375,050, which leaves the shy of $25,000 left. With that being said, there are some needs for the truck. So I'm just making sure, so that money, truck money would come out of the reserve fund, okay? The payments come out of there currently, the truck, the difference is what we're looking to come out of there as well. There is funding in there for that, or funding to pay for that. And also my expectation would be that when the truck that's being replaced is sold, that funding actually would go back to that account. My original anticipation, I had thought that truck might have a realistic resale value of 40 to 50,000. I thought we'd be doing good to get there. It sounds like that number could be maybe even safely 80,000 more, which is significantly to the plus side, obviously, which is a good thing. So with that being said, I'm just looking to kind of confirm that that difference that was approved not to exceed is still okay. You know, the truck's been prepaid, so there is that difference. And I'm looking to spend it out of the reserve fund. I don't anticipate this spending the whole 25,000. I mean, I can't guarantee that, but currently there's some equipment needs for the truck. We've paid for the hose and the 2 air packs for it out of impact fees already. And there's some needs from some nozzles, which would be 6 of them for the truck. The truck is replacing does not carry this equipment that's needed to anything. Some of the truck stuff from the truck that's being replaced is obviously moving there, but there's needs over and above what's on that truck. So there's the nozzles. Nozzles are about 4 of them that we need are about $800 a piece. Then the 2.5-inch nozzles, which are a little bigger version, are really between $1,400 and $1,500 a piece. So that's just over $6,000. There's this 30. I think it was 3,200, but I'm gonna say 3,500 chassis add-on, which in the contract, that's the manufacturer add-on. That's not, it's the chassis manufacturer. It's not the fire truck builder add-on. That came in later after the truck was, and that was kind of expected. There are departments that are paying 10,000 or more for that. We actually are on the, so to speak, the low end of that. So with those numbers alone, it's about 10 to 11, I think my math in my head, right, 10 or 11,000 type of that. Typically, when you go to final inspection for a fire truck, it's not uncommon to find something that either you should have put in the spec and didn't, or something needs to change or something. We've been pretty lucky over the last few years. The last 2 trucks we did, those numbers were, I think, on both trucks, a couple $1,000s or less, but I've seen departments spend 30,000.
Yeah.
They obviously don't have 30,000 to spend,
Sure.
so I'm not coming either. So that's why I say I don't think, you know, I said, we realistically have 10 to 11,000 of needs. And then obviously we'll do a final inspection, there's the potential, you know what I mean, over above that, I don't expect. So I do feel that we should be well within the current budget, but I just want to make sure. But we will be sending people for final inspection soon, so
Yeah.
I'll make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Carl, so just to confirm, you said the approval was up to $400,000, okay?
And I have the, I could show you. the-
No, that's fine, I was just, so what you're essentially laying out for us is that there are some other needs that you believe are gonna still fall within that $400,000.
Correct. I don't expect any reason to go over
That
that.
there could be something in final inspection which you can't anticipate at this point in time, which may go over, is my understanding. So,
It won't put us over the 400,000.
No, it still won't.
No, I don't believe
Okay.
it will.
All right.
No,
Yeah, thank you.
I'm just coming here because the truck's been prepaid, that 375.
Yeah.
It's not like we get a final bill for the 375 plus.
Yep.
Whatever we do, but in the final bills, whatever, right? The truck's been paid for, so now it's whatever that difference is. And some of that's equipment, which has always been anticipated, but it is different than the actual truck.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, it seems straightforward to me, and it sounds like the resale on the fire truck. Has
It was a
potential
bonus.
upside,
It
yeah,
was
so
like
that
it's gonna
may
be a nice
help us.
bonus, actually.
And I kind of feel like with the resale, that might help us lead into the new year.
Yep.
So it doesn't sound like we need a motion for this, we just need to be like, yeah. Okay, Fred?
Just for clarity, which truck is it replacing?
It's not in the budget.
It's not, so. It's not, I would guess, it's probably not in the reserve fund line.
It's not in the budget.
Okay, was that in
What is
relation
reserve
to?
fund?
Sorry,
funds
he's
that are
talking about
already-
that.
There's reserve fund funds that are in the bank, it's not raising taxes. Over and above what's being raised.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding your question.
The way the fire department uses the reserve fund is to pay the bills on their trucks.
Mhm.
So the payment came out of the reserve
Mhm.
funds. But the truck approval was from 2 boards ago for the lease
Mhm.
payment, which was done. The bill just came in this time, but I don't know where that. It could, there wasn't money put into a budget for the 25,000.
So the,
From the
what you're saying is that the budget was 375,000.
It wasn't ever in the budget.
I see. We'll get to you eventually.
So where did this money come from?
We, for the 100,000 for the payment was put in last year's budget.
It
That
has,
was it.
that's been 100,000 for multiple years. That's,
So Fred and then Brian,
I guess my question is the capital budget for 2019 to 2024 does not mention this truck. And when it was approached to the select board, it was said it was in the capital budget. So I'm a little unclear how that happened.
it was previously approved by the previous board. When the ladder truck was purchased to change the capital plan, and actually technically it is in this current budget. There's a fire engine in the same year's current budgets, which this truck is a fire engine / tanker. It meets the NFPA requirements for the fire engine if you want to be technical. At 400,000 and not 670,000, which was what we would have replaced if we had gone with a normal custom engine like what we normally do.
Was the payment, just so I'm just trying to wrap my head around it, was the 375 paid all at once?
Right, because it's a lease purchase, because it's a lease purchase, a lease
Okay.
purchase is prepaid,
And
where,
then we pay 100,000 a year, is that, okay, all right.
so the payment, yeah. okay,
I see.
exactly.
And is the truck paid for by the time you get it? Is that, no?
No, basically, basically what it is, there's a lease company, right? They purchase the truck, we pay 100,000 a year on that, and we continue to do that, right? Until that truck's
For
paid
5
off,
years, it's a
and then the
5-year.
next truck, we then buy the next
Lease.
truck, we're on that program, right? So after every 5 years, we own a truck,
We buy,
now
we
we're
have
starting to
4
work on the
trucks
next
that are
one.
on a 20-year replacement cycle, basically.
Yeah.
We buy a new truck essentially every 5 years. So we pay, basically, typically we pay one off because of the lease purchase and because we planned it bid us for buying ahead, so to speak. We knew that fire trucks, the lead time on fire trucks right now is 2+ years. We knew that that was the case. We went and we planned ahead and did that. Because my anticipation originally was the first payment was gonna come out in 24, which would have kept it on its normal thing. And when they went into the agreement, they came back and said, no, the first payment's gonna be in 23, and that's not what the expectation is. There was enough money in there in the reserve fund to actually pay both payments type of thing, so it didn't, I guess it didn't bite us because of it being a year early. If anything, it gives us at the end a bonus year of no payment, I guess, but
So basically, I guess the answer to Fred's question is that we're on a fire truck subscription.
it's a
Yeah.
lease purchase
Yeah.
agreement is what it is. It's a
Okay.
5-year lease purchase agreement.
Brian?
Well, it's by the time you buy a new one, it could be 20 years old. I mean,
Correct.
You wouldn't drive.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
don't, yeah, it's a rotation of
You
4
don't
trucks. You're
The
replacing the
current
oldest
truck being
one.
replaced is
last.
26 years old.
Yeah.
so
Yes.
millions of us aware.
Yeah.
Yes.
Brian?
I'm not debating whether the trucks need to be replaced at a certain interval or anything like that. But I do know that in the past, the town voters have voted for whether they want to spend that large amount of money on a fire truck. I don't remember voting for this fire truck. I'm not voting for it. I don't remember it being in the ballot.
So was
Always
it
a separate, always a separate line item for the town voters to vote whether they wanted to make the commitment to buy a fire truck at 400,000, 200,000, 500,000, and I don't remember this one being on a ballot. I don't.
It wasn't.
Am I, it was?
It was not on the ballot. I can
Okay.
explain that.
That's a select board
I
choice.
do think we were talking about that in relation, I do think that was a discussion that people were aware of in regards to the budget though.
The
Right?
last fire truck previous to this one was not in the budget as well. And the reason for that is I questioned it years ago, but you're right, they actually used to be done as a bond vote, not a lease purchase. I questioned it years ago, about how do we buy dump trucks, things like that, large scale purchases, but we never go to a bond vote. And why do we have to go to a bond vote with fire trucks? And because if it's financed, either a lease purchase or financed 5 years or less, it can be done through the capital plan and approval of the select board. Type of thing, which is where these are trucks that they were in the capital plan type of thing being replaced, they're not add-on trucks.
Okay, so I think we've heard what we need to hear in order to vote. I'd like to, do we have a motion? We have a motion on the floor? No, we don't have a motion. We were just.
Do we need one?
We're just.
No, he was just
Presentation.
You're just
Yeah.
presenting.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, do
He
you?
does.
Well, it
It's
sounds like
gotta be
we
yes
just
or no on
wanna, one, we wanna make sure, looking at this reserve fund, right, we need to talk to our treasurer
Right,
to see if there's funds available. And are those funds earmarked for other things?
Well,
Right? I
question.
think at
so,
Did you do your due diligence when you came in? You know you have that additional funding?
So there was
Yeah.
125,342 at the end of last year. We put in 100,000 this year, we placed at 225 and change.
Yep.
There's 2 truck payments that are coming out this year. New truck is 70,375.
Yep.
The final truck payment of our engine of 73,180 be coming out, so that's what, 143 and change.
Yep.
Plus the 25,000 is 168 and change, so
Leave us
here,
with
so
surplus.
$60,000+ plus.
Plus the
whatever
sale of the
sale
truck.
truck.
all right, Fred, last question.
So we're selling a truck, so this is replacing a truck or not replacing?
He's replacing a
It
truck,
is, and he's gonna sell the old.
Which
big tanker,
tanker?
yeah,
Which is what, 26, you
it's a
said
1997 truck.
26 years old.
All right, so Keith, thank you so much. And it seems like we are giving you the thumbs up on this, right?
Yeah, I mean, we just obviously confirmed with Amber, not that I don't trust your number, because I do. But yeah, absolutely. I would say we would proceed.
All right. And
Thanks, Keith.
Thank you,
so
Keith, very much.
do we have any reports from our subcommittees? First would be the town administrator.
So on that one,
Just, we settle down so that we can hear what you're all saying.
So Milton Police Department, has informed us that they are down 2 men now, so we are going to be getting services on probably, with the list of sign overtime to actually cover the town. So we're hoping to get coverage. They did send us a schedule, and we got a schedule for the last few, but it's gonna kind of be on a sign up basis, as who wants to receive overtime to cover the town.
So what does that do? What does that do to the contract? Like, if they're not filling their end, like, how does that work?
That's what we gotta check into.
Okay,
Okay,
So I just want to let you know that they are, I did get word today, I finally got a hold of a lieutenant because the chief is actually out for a couple of weeks, so to confirm when I'm certain. There has been some damage to a garage door in the wash bay. Kind of forgot to lift up his wing and backed into the door. So the rollers and crack got bent. Todd said that they can fix it so there will not have to be any thing to go forward.
has he?
Well, I believe they said they were going to try, right?
Has there been an update?
I haven't
No,
had an update.
we should definitely ask for that.
Yeah, I think that just happened though, so
I mean,
But
it's
yes,
been
I
a week
agree.
or week and a half or two.
Yeah. yeah, that's a
This is the second.
second time by, yeah, the same individual.
The sign, the highway crew has put up a sign in the cemetery regarding Jeffrey Grace. It looks very nice down there, they did a great job. I also contacted VLCT regarding dogs at the park. I got an email stating that our general liability coverage, according to the agreement, conditions, extensions, and language, says we can have dogs down there, but then if you actually go and look at the policy, the first thing it says that can't be down there is animals. So I've got to go clarity on that.
Where are we gonna get clarity from?
I'm gonna talk to the legal, she said go to maybe their legal division for the LPT and.
Okay.
they give it. I talked to the insurance.
Okay.
So she said we can, and then areas that she referred me to, so we can, so.
okay. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
No.
So. Buildings,
There hasn't been really any,
potential use for the old town garage,
nothing.
all right. Budget and finance. Anything in regards to the ARPA, requests from our, department heads?
Well, we received some wish list, right? But not all of them.
Yep.
I think we should probably get a complete list.
Yeah.
Before we can start.
Speaking of
jumping into
anything,
that.
sure.
Yeah.
All right.
So-
Any-
For the department heads, please get that in. I know that we have a few, but we want to definitely see what we can approach and go after, with that.
Okay, anything from personnel that you'd like to add?
Just the fact that we've conducted a number of interviews with candidates for our treasurer, and we expect to discuss those with the board in executive session and hopefully take action when we come out of executive session.
Certainly. Public Works. Okay. And there are no committees at the moment that are under my direction. And so do we have any other items? Nope. So our next planned meeting is on the 26th. And
Proceed.
don't.
Just keep going.
It's on the 26th, and we will be meeting.
Text the whole thing.
I think we'll be meeting here. We'll see.
Yeah.
This is a
Well,
good
to make, I heard that they heeded what I said previously, and like, I love this setup, like, I definitely don't like people sitting behind me, so.
Thank you guys for doing this, by the way.
This looks, I think this looks
wanna
great.
change the table there,
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
but we have more of these.
All right, I'm glad that,
Although this is nice to have this
I'm
many people
glad
sitting
that-
around it at this.
this is working out. It's good to be back in-house. All right, so let's see. We have,
Do we have AC, Cheryl?
we're going to need, we are going to need a motion to enter into executive session. We have a few folks that we're going to be inviting with us. Do not forget that we are inviting Cheryl, and Dawn as well.
And
You don't need
Dawn doesn't
no,
maybe here.
wait,
You
for
can
executive
leave.
session, then.
So,
Sarah.
Cheryl.
yes, we need to,
I just like to clarify one thing. There are several things we're gonna be discussing in executive session, some of which doesn't require all those people. So do you want to do it separately, or how should we want to do it? Okay.
I would say that we can do a single motion for executive session and that we will be periodically, we will be persuasively inviting people in.
I move we enter into executive session, to discuss several matters that premature disclosure may be detrimental to the individuals involved and or the board itself. And some of the people that will be invited will include Cheryl, members of the library, board commit board, okay, as one group, and then we will move into the treasurer's position to discuss candidate, and then the fire chief has a recommendation on the hiring of an individual for the EMS position.
Okay.
The library director.
Library director, not just.
Okay, I
And
said
the library.
library director.
And so do we have a second for that? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and so everybody, thank you for joining us.
Well done, 8:10.
that's what I said.
What's going on?
The 9 o'clock was not, we could beat that.
Joanne.
You're out of here.
I do too. You know, she really appreciated you got into the Facebook discussion. But no,
You too, I think you missed out, like, my son.
Nicholas Martin. Nice to meet you.
oh,
Nice to meet you. I knew you were. You were facing.
It was first grade, right?
First grade, yes.
First grade,
Jackson.
so he's now 13.
I know, I saw his picture.
Wait.
I know.
Jackson, yeah.
my son's in school.
Oh.